Very warm welcome to our session today on the Stephenson Harwood Aspiring Solicitors Black Talent Program. My name is Zoe. I'm the Senior Head of Coaching and Strategy at Aspiring Solicitors, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Wise and Zoe, who, off the back of their stellar performance on the SH Black Talent Scheme last year, are now trainees and future trainees at the firm. Welcome, and thank you both for joining our session today. Just by way of background, AS has partnered very closely with Stephenson Harwood across the years on many diversity initiatives, which really demonstrates the firm's unwavering commitment to supporting exceptional diverse talent to enter the legal profession. So to share a strong example, 30 to 40% of the firm's trainees and VAC scheme students have been AS members in previous recruitment cycles. So when SH approached us at AS several years ago to launch a unique Black heritage work experience scheme, we jumped at the opportunity to make this happen for our Black members. For context, the SH Black Talent Program offers 10 Black or mixed Black AS members a 2-week work placement every summer. Importantly, the work experience is undertaken in-house, so really allowing you to learn the ropes as a trainee at Stephenson Harwood. And for those who secure a place on the program, you're automatically invited to an assessment day to be considered for a training contract at the firm. Last year, SH offered 6 of the 10 placement students training contract opportunities, and I'm delighted to share that 5 joined the firm as trainees. And this is just one example of the firm's wider partnership with AS to support Black students specifically. Other examples include the Black Aspiring Solicitor Scheme, or BAS, which is a mentoring scheme that takes place over the summer months, September, October, November, as well as our skills-based Elevate workshop happening this July. So if you're interested in any of those opportunities, keep an eye on the AS website for further information. Without further ado, I'm glad to welcome Zoe and Wise. Again, a very warm welcome to this session. Please could I ask, just to kick things off, that you briefly introduce yourselves and share what made you apply to the Black Talent Scheme?
Hi, I am Zoe Zothile. I'm an international trainee from Zimbabwe. I studied law at the University of Stirling and then did the LPC, which I finished earlier this year. So I applied to the Black Talent Scheme because I just really like Stephenson Harwood. I saw the diversity partnerships and commitments that it was doing, and I saw how it was really, inspiring and trying to create an inclusive environment, which really appealed to me. So I applied so I could just meet people face to face and just kind of get like an insight in what the firm is really like.
I love that. Thanks. And Wise, coming to you.
So my name is Wise Musinguzi. I'm a final year law student at the University of Surrey. And thank you for having me, first of all, here today. And I think the reason for me why I applied for this specific program was quite similar to Zoe's. I'm not born and raised in the UK, and so much of the experience I've had of what a lawyer does is sort of a perspective from back home in Uganda. And so I kind of wanted that, practical insight into what a solicitor really does, and being able to actually sit in the office and see what value lawyers actually add to the deals and transactions that they do. I'd also been on Aspiring Solicitors mentoring program the year before. And so I thought it would be like a really good step up in addition to that, to like better my understanding of a legal career.
Well, thanks both for sharing those insights, and it's fantastic to have two of you, both international students, elicit your experience or part of the reasons why you were applying to the scheme. I also was applying from outside of the UK, and I think notwithstanding whether we come from the UK or not, it's really the importance of having that practical experience and seeing and feeling how even just the firm culture maps out every day, which, is something, again, credit to Stephenson Harwood, particularly for running these programs in person every year, is something that we just wouldn't be able to experience online, or no matter how rigorously we conduct our research, right? We wouldn't be able to gain what we do from those in-person, in-house experiences. Great. So if you were to sum up your experience of the scheme and your key learnings and takeaways, what would these be?
Well, my experience was amazing, right? I had 2 weeks in the office in London, I'd never been in a law firm for that long. I think the longest I'd ever been before that was about a day and a half. I was just shadowing someone back home. And so for me, it was really amazing to actually be in a law firm for a couple of weeks, actually have a desk and crack on with work. I got to meet so many young and smart and motivated young people who I actually became friends with, and we still talk up to now. And I thought that was also an amazing part of the program. But I think for me, the biggest takeaway probably came from gaining an understanding of the value that a lawyer has in the work that they do. I think prior to the scheme, I kind of knew what kind of work solicitors do. I knew it was commercial, they work on transaction, big deals, M&A, and that kind of thing. But understanding exactly the role that a lawyer plays, for example, in an M&A transaction, was something that became more apparent to me when I was like doing SPAs and that kind of thing with my supervisor. And so for me, I think that was the biggest takeaway.
Absolutely. It's really the power, as you mentioned, of crystallizing and contextualizing what does a lawyer do, or at least a trainee, but you have the visibility then of seeing what a lawyer at a range of levels does, right? Which I think unless and until we've seen some of that or experience some of that, that's really difficult to articulate and translate into our applications, isn't it? Or especially at an interview, if we're asked, for example, so what is your understanding of the role of a trainee? And again, that is incredibly difficult to put into words when you haven't even had the experience. And what you said, you hadn't had any sort of legal experience or work experience of that sort before. So incredibly important on so many levels. Zoe, what was your experience and key takeaways from the program?
Likewise, I thoroughly enjoyed the program because this was my first scheme, so I got to see how the law firm operates. I got to see the kind of projects and work that the firm does, which was really important to me, just because I wanted to see if I could envision myself working here long term. My scheme was entirely virtual, but the Future Talent team worked so hard to make us feel so important and so integrated, which was really nice for us to see. They planned amazing social events like donut competitions and virtual escape rooms, which were really fun. And I guess my key takeaway is a bit more personal. I think for me, it just taught me I'm just as capable as anyone else. I think it's easy to compare your weaknesses to other people's strengths, but then I saw that my strengths were different but equally as valuable. And so that was my key takeaway.
I love that. I think it is exactly, everything that you both have coined and more, but, really kind of feeling that I deserve this, I earned it, and actually I deserve more than this scheme. If I can get this far, there's no cap on where I could potentially get to outside of that. So great. Thank you so much for the insights so far. How did you use your experience in subsequent applications and interviews? And if you didn't make or undertake any subsequent applications or interviews outside of SH, how did the experience of the scheme help you in the final TC interview?
So I think one of the biggest things I enjoyed about the scheme was we used to have practice group kind of introduction sessions and information sessions by the practice heads of the various groups and departments in the firm. And that really provided really in-depth information regarding the firm's key strengths, the firm's strategy, and kind of their future plans and how they're planning on, achieving those. And this is stuff that is really hard to find online, and it's stuff that you probably need someone in the firm to hear from to understand. It was really properly put across. And I remember in my interview that informed a lot of the points that I made. In the interview, we also had to present a business case. And a lot of that was informed by the firm's strategy and future plans for me. And I thought that was really a really key part of the scheme that immensely helped me on my TC interview. But I think even more than that, the projects and work that we were given as a back scheme intern, drafting reports, I remember one of the coolest tasks I had was actually like write an article that featured on like one of the practice group websites. I think those are skills that became transferable even after the back scheme in my uni work and like other internships. So I think that definitely was one of the things that helped me in my TC interview and even beyond.
Yeah, and it's really also that opportunity to, rather than if we had just made or submitted an application blind, not having had that experience, kind of giving you that gumption, that real confidence to bring the experience to life, and your narrative then in telling why you want to be at the firm longer term, why you want to undertake a traineeship, I think can be that much more compelling when you've got that personal experience to back it up, right?
Definitely, yep.
Great. Zoe, what was your experience and how did you use this in subsequent interviews, applications, or in your final SHTC interview?
Like you mentioned that, when you go on the scheme, you first work with the aspiring solicitors team before you go on to the assessment center. And I found working with the AS team is so important and helpful. For example, the application questions allowed me to kind of focus my understanding and build up on why I actually was motivated to apply to the firm. So when I had to make subsequent applications for the assessment center, I had like a clear idea of what I was actually doing and applying for. Mm-hmm. And then the interview with the AS team challenged me and exposed some weak areas. So by the time I got to my actual interview, I was so much more prepared, and I felt so good. It was so helpful. And then, like Wai said, we had some great practice sessions, and with these practice sessions, we got to meet some wonderful people, and we were able to keep in touch with these people. So when we had to create a presentation, we had a point of reference with someone who actually works in the firm, is actually doing the work actively. So that was also really helpful for the final assessment center.
Absolutely. I'm really glad that you mentioned, well, both points, but in particular the first, myself and the coaching team at AS really work tirelessly with not only you guys, but on every similar scheme program, coaching program, mentoring program that we run. And I think it is in teasing out and ironing out what you mentioned, maybe some of those areas of development, maybe it's how to articulate commercial awareness strongly, maybe it's how to really, again, present a compelling case for why SH in this instance. We can really take you on that journey so that you're putting your best and strongest foot forward. And I really like what you've both mentioned, the fact that you've got this real insight into the practice areas. I remember when I was a law student applying, for firms, just when you read or we might have quite minimal information on a firm's website, it's quite difficult to really see where you could potentially put yourself or place yourself or imagine yourself. So I found those sorts of insight days and insight sessions into particular practice areas or sectors, indeed, as again a really useful way for me to. Can I envision myself doing that work? Can I envision myself with these sorts of people? So thank you for sharing your insights on that. Coming around to the final two questions, if I may. What tips do you have for AS members who might be interested in this scheme?
I would say do your research, but do your research using various sources. For example, the firm has some podcasts on Spotify, so you can just listen to those as you're just doing walks. Also, just reaching out to people. I think a lot of people are so friendly and so willing to help. So just reaching out to those people can help create a point of contact. So even if you do have the scheme, you have someone you can kind of talk to during the scheme, even though the firm will provide buddies for you. So yeah, that would be my main advice.
I think my advice would just be like supplementing what Zoe said about doing research. I think you want to gain an understanding both of the firm, but also of the role of a lawyer and the business of a law firm. I found that was really helpful. Just understanding a law firm as a business, as opposed to everything around that. I think that was also really a fundamental part of doing research. You come across someone that's more informed on the career, but also on the value that you could bring to the firm itself. I'd also advise, and this really goes I think for most law students who probably don't have prior legal experience, is every experience counts. Every work experience is valuable. I remember when I was applying, I didn't really have work experience prior to that, but a lot of the skills and talking points that I had throughout the interviews and the scheme were things that I had obtained from other commercial work experiences and work experiences that were not necessarily legal. And I think that you should not discount yourself simply because you've never sat in a law firm. I think all experiences are really, really valuable. And I guess the final thing is really to do with confidence and believing in yourself. I think sometimes we just let down by the fact that we think we cannot get into these places or we cannot achieve some of these things. But the truth is, if I could do this from Uganda, just came to the UK 3 years ago, then I really believe that anyone can do this.
Absolutely, 100% resonate with your final 2 points. I just want everyone who might be watching out there to know that it is absolutely not necessary for one to have legal work experience to be able to get your foot in the door for these sorts of programs. Actually, any kind of experience, particular customer focus, retail experience, banking experience, or even just, pulling pints in a pub or, helping with your local church charity. All of these things, if you can at least articulate the transferable skills that one gained from whatever that previous work experience was, if you can showcase them, strongly in an application, then that can be as good, if not more, than legal work experience. And then confidence, it's something that I think a lot of us really struggle with, don't we? And for me, it's still something that I'm working on today. And I think it's like a muscle. You have to kind of keep flexing it and honing it in order for us to keep growing it, as well as within our careers as we continue to grow into possibly more senior positions or lateral positions or undertake different jobs. We need to kind of keep that confidence sharp or at least as healthy as it can be. So great. And thank you again for sharing those insights. I'd just like to ask as a final question, did you think before securing your place on this program how significantly it could potentially change your life?
I mean, it's completely changed the trajectory of my career from now onwards. Prior to this, I'd not done a vacation scheme. I'd not really done legal work experience, like I said. And so for me, a pathway into a top law firm was something that was looking quite hard. I thought I could, pull something through, but I did not expect it to be, through something like this. And it was really amazing for me to get it at that stage in my uni education. Because most of the people I've met, at least in my experience, have had to do like a master's and all that before they get a training contract. And so for me, it really kind of shortened, kind of that steep curve. And really changed my career trajectory from now on. And I'm really, really grateful to aspiring solicitors actually for that. And I'd like to say thank you, Zoe, whilst you're on the call still.
Oh my God, you're making me blush. Well, Wise, it's all down to yours and Zoe's and also obviously all the other candidates, irrespective of the outcomes really, actually, because I think it is sometimes we can get so caught up in the end goal and achieving the end goal that we forget to kind of really embrace the actual process and what learnings and key takeaways we are gaining through the process, irrespective of the outcome. But thanks, Wise, for sharing your experiences. So Zoe, come to you to close us off.
I just have to echo Wise and what he said about the gratitude. I'm so grateful for aspiring solicitors creating this program with Stephenson Harwood, because it really did change my life. I was in my final year, unlike Wise, and I kind of had given up on applications for the foreseeable year. But I was like, well, let me try, just push myself, put myself out there and give it one last shot with a firm that I really, really like. And, worst thing, I get research skills improving. I get maybe interview skills improving. But I was lucky and I got the placement scheme, and then I got the TC, and now I know I'm going to qualify and be the solicitor that I want to be.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
really, yeah, it really changed my life.
The power of, I think, is exactly that. And I can draw on from my own personal experiences, just one yes to someone who might want to speak to you at a networking opportunity that can phenomenally change your life, right? And as you said, so, you were at the, you're in your final year and you kind of almost given up on the process itself, but also that appreciation that, okay, here's a firm that I'm really drawn to. Irrespective again of the outcome in the process, I'm going to be honing my research skills, honing my drafting skills. And I think within that, or baked in that, is, it will take, for most of us, it does take several iterations or several attempts in order for us to finally reach that good thing that we dreamed of. And it just really, it empowers me to see both of you who so deservingly secured not only your positions on the program, but then that golden nugget, that TC with a top international law firm. I just want to say congratulations again to each of you, and a deep thank you from me and the rest of the Aspiring Solicitors team for joining this session today.